The Prime Resurgence event has now launched, bringing back old primes. Ire, the resource you need to buy the relics from Vazia, is available exclusively from void missions, bounties and relic packs. I'm going to show you how effective each is at giving you Ire, so you can spend your grind time efficiently. I'm the Engineer, let's solve a practical problem. The information in this video is supported by a combination of the official drop tables DE publish and empirical evidence in mission running. But as with anything RNG, your mileage will vary. Some people get lucky, some people don't. So disclaimer aside, let's dive in. Starting with the Void, we've got our usual suspect for farming. With this update, DE removed all the vaulted relics from the drop tables, replacing them with Ire. However, it's not a direct replacement. Every single Ire drop has a lower rate than the vaulted relics had themselves, with the change in chance instead being given to the standard relics. This means that in the main, Ire farming is slower than vaulted relic farming was overall. However, farming for a specific relic is still a bit faster, especially for the Axes. In Tier 1 and 2 Void missions, the non-endless variants all have the same 6.67% drop rate on Ire, while the endless missions have 6.67% or less on Rotation A. From that alone, it's clear to see that for the lower tiers, Epic Capture is just the best. You simply cannot run any other mission faster in the lower Void tiers. Into the upper Void, the scene changes a little bit. It used to be that you couldn't farm the vaulted Acti relics outside of some less than ideal missions, or just giving up on the Void altogether. But with Ire, there is no such restriction. The Tier 3 Void Capture mission Ukko offers an 8.33% chance of Ire, about 25% better than Hepit, and just as easy to run. The other Void missions in Tier 3 and 4 offer slightly higher rates in the main, but nothing at all competitive with just how quickly you can run Ukko. So very simply, the best the Void has to offer is Ukko, which pays out an average of about 5 Ire per hour if you manage to complete the mission, including loading time, in 1 minute. There is the matter of Steel Essence if you run Steel Path, which leads me on to the next source of Ire, Relic Packs. For 20,000 Syndicate standing, 15 Steel Essence, or 20 Platinum if you're absolutely insane, you can get a Relic Pack. These contain 1 Axial Neo Relic and 2 Miso or Lith Relics. While DE haven't made the probabilities public, it stands to reason that these packs only contain the standard and vaulted relics, making it 8 relics per tier. Assuming that the vaulted relics have been swapped for Ire directly, this would make each relic in a pack a 1 in 8 chance of being Ire. In other words, every 8 packs opened would average 3 Ire. This is not a guaranteed rate though, not only because of normal RNG issues, but also because DE have given us a lower rate of Ire than vaulted relics in missions. So there's no way to know if we have got a perfectly equal rate here, or if it's potentially less. Let's work on the principle of it being 3 in 8 chance. With that assumption, this would mean that 1 Ire is worth around about 53,000 standing, or 40 Steel Essence. Having a quick look at my Syndicate missions, I have a total of 38,590 standing showing for rewards on those missions. With the 50% carryover to a second Syndicate, this would be a total of around 57,000 standing, although this also includes some standing going to one of my negative Syndicates. Assuming you can fully utilise that 57,000 standing, this would give an average of around 1 Ire. Looking down the list, doing those missions would take at least half an hour, putting the rate of Ire at a maximum of 2 per hour from Syndicate missions. Now of course, during those missions, I could go and get more standing from the medallions littered around the mission. However, this would also take more time. If you only spend 4 minutes per mission finding all 8 medallions, and that's impressive if you can, this would still be less than 2 Ire per hour, making it worse than just speeding through the mission for the base reward. The power of medallions is in banking standing for a future update, not farming for a current one. As for Steel Essence, you can hope to get Acolytes to spawn as often as every 4 minutes in the Steel Path missions. They can take longer than this, but this is our best rate realistically. With a resource booster, this will give you a cool 60 Essence per hour, and with 40 Essence being 1 Ire on average, that comes out to about 1.5 Ire per hour. If you add in a Smeeta Kavat as well, this rises to between 1.8 and 2 Ire per hour from Acolytes. This can make Endless Steel Path Void missions more competitive, but it's still behind doing normal capture runs. And again, just as a reminder, this is assuming that the drop rate of IF relic packs is equal with the other relics. If it has a reduced rate, then you're going to get even less IR than this prediction here. But the truth here is that there's not really much point in farming standing or essence for IR, unless you've got another reason you want to be doing these missions, like for example just being burned out on doing capture runs. This brings us on then to our final and rather complicated source of IR, bounties. Almost every standard bounty has a chance of dropping IR. That is, every surface bounty in the Cambion Drift drops IR, but the Isolation Vaults don't. Every surface mission in the Orb Valis drops IR, but the heist against the orbs don't. As for the Plains of Eidolon, all the standard and ghoul bounties drop IR with the sole exception of the lowest level bounty. That one just doesn't. As for the drop rates, it's complicated. For example, the Endless Bounty on Deimos has a variable drop rate. For the drop from each of the first 6 rewards, you either have a 5.26% chance of IR, or a 14.29% chance of IR. The rate changes because the rewards themselves rotate, and it's a vestigial leftover from how the drop tables were set up on the previous patch. One viewer on my Discord did some digging into the APIs, and seems to believe that the drop tables of the first 3 bounties are linked. So assuming that's correct, the best time to run the Endless Deimos bounty for IR is when the Tier 2 bounty has Vazarin and Onairu lenses available in the rewards. Otherwise, there's no way to check in-game what drop table you're on. Like I said, it's complicated. The good news is you can skip the really complicated stuff, it's just not a good enough rate. The capture missions Hepit and Ukko are 4 and 5 IR per hour each, assuming you're being pretty fast. So that's the minimum we're looking for with the open world missions. In the Orb Valis, only one bounty keeps up with this rate, the Tier 3 bounty. It has a 12.5% drop rate on stage 2 and 3, with a 25% drop rate on stage 4. If you get all of the bonus objectives, you get 2 rolls on stage 4. So this means a Tier 3 bounty will give roughly 1 IR every 2 runs, or 1.5 IR every 2 runs if you're able to get all bonus objectives. With the completion time I got for that bounty, this comes out to around 4 to 5 IR per hour. The other tiers just don't have the speed to be worth it, despite having some of the highest per reward rates in the game. As for the Cambion Drift, none of the missions are fast enough to compete, but they do get close. Most of the Cambion Drift bounties clock in at around 3 to 4 IR per hour, and for the Endless bounty, it's around 3 to 4 per hour on the right rotation, but around 1.5 IR per hour on the wrong rotation. As for the Plains of Eidolon, it varies. Tier 1 gives no IR, Tier 2 gives very little IR, and Tier 4 gives even less IR, so those ones should all be skipped. However, the Tier 3 and 5 bounties do have competitive rates, around 4 to 5 IR per hour. The Tier 3 Ostrom bounties have, again, different drop rates, similar to the Cambion Drift, but the differences are much less significant, only varying from 4.5 to 5 IR per hour. This is assuming you complete all the bonus objectives on half of all runs. As for the Tier 5 bounty, it's a little bit slower to run, and it comes out to a little bit lower rate of IR compared to the Tier 3. But you see, these normal bounties are not the only bounties on the plains. If it's active, the Ghoul Purge offers 2 extra bounties. I know this has left some platforms already, but they might come back in time. The 2 Ghoul bounties have different drop tables, but the IR drop rate is identical for each bounty. Most notably, these bounties also front-load their drop rates of IR, offering 26.47% on the first stage, yet less than 9% on the following stages and 0% on the last one. This means that doing the first stage only, then abandoning the bounty and restarting, is the most effective way of getting IR out of the Ghoul Purge. All you need to do is just fly into the zone of the second stage, and then bail to the nearest bounty hut you can remember the location of. The bounty will end, allowing you to restart, all without losing your rewards and without having to reload the entire mission. There are different bounty sub-missions that can be selected for this first stage. You can have opening an armoured vault, stealing a Grokdal processor, wiping out a Ghoul burial ground, that sort of thing. If these are selected randomly, you'll be looking at around 7 IR per hour, which is the best possible rate out of all farming options. So it turns out you don't have to do random bounty stages. You can choose, kinda. You see, when you start a Ghoul bounty on the plains, it'll seemingly assign you a random set of sub-missions. However, if you abandon Stage 2 and restart the same bounty, it'll give you the same Stage 1 you just did. This is only the case for bounties started on the plains. If you leave to speak to Konzu, it gets re-randomized. As there are 2 ghoul bounties, this means you can roll the dice twice per mission. The one you're hoping to get is the capture sub-mission. A decent weapon can one-shot the capture target on both levels, meaning the total time it takes to go from starting the bounty, through doing the capture, to fully abandoning Stage 2 is just under 80 seconds. This means you can continuously repeat doing this capture stage, constantly getting the Stage 1 reward with its better than 1 in 4 chance of Ire every time. If the stage you want doesn't appear, just go back to Cetus and reload the plains, resetting your bounties to potentially entirely new options. By doing this method, once you get the capture mission locked in, you can be earning around 12 Ire per hour. The downside to this being you're repeating the same open world bounty cycle constantly. If you need to leave Cetus, you'll have to roll the bounties again until you get your desired one. This is about as mundane and repetitive as constantly speeding through the mission Ukko, but it's over twice as lucrative once you get the right roll. It comes with the added benefit of not constantly loading into your orbiter and then reloading into the mission, at least once you've got the capture stage set up. So out of all the options, constantly resetting the Ghoul Purge is easily the fastest for Ire. Even on the slowest submission, it's as fast as Ukko, while on the fastest, it's over twice as good. Otherwise, the best farms available are the Tier 3 Ostrom bounties, Tier 3 Solaris bounties, and Ukko. Don't forget though, Warframe allows you to farm more than one thing at once, and this event is going to be around for months. The best farm for you may be the one that kills 2 contracts with 1 stone, like farming Deimos for Zaku and Ire simultaneously. As ever, your mileage will vary. Alright then, I do hope you found this video helpful when it comes to farming Ire. If you want to know more about how I draw these conclusions and support the channel in the process, you can subscribe at patreon.com/thekengineer. This will give you access to the math behind the scenes that makes these videos happen. That's all for now from me though, so as always, grind bounties, get Ire, and fight well, Tenno.